Okay, in this video I'm going to show a couple of scenarios where you want to break an edge. That means either chamfering or corner rounding an edge like this, okay? So let's just go ahead and jump right in. We're going to first create a tool, and we'll go ahead and call this my test chamfer tool, okay? And we're going to change the type over to a chamfer cutter. It's going to ask us if we're sure. We say yes. And then you can see everything kind of changes here on the tool description. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that so the minor diameter is kind of this little cylindrical part at the bottom of the tool, which is kind of common. But for this video, I'm going to say 0 to that. Okay, so we have a straight pointed chamfer tool, which is probably more common actually. And then the major diameter, this is going to be a 3/8. And almost all chamfer cutters are 45 degree, but if it's not, you can change the angle there. So if it's a 30 degree, it does something like that, okay? And then it'll fill out some of these other dimensions like the effective diameter, which is kind of the middle part where you're going to do most of your chamfering. And then the bottom lead-in, let's just go ahead and put this back here for a second. The bottom lead-in is kind of how deep this cylinder part is. Okay, so if we don't have that bottom part at all, we just put 0 for the minor diameter, and then this just changes to 0 automatically. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty easy. So now let's go ahead and apply this to our geometry over here. Let's insert a chamfer instruction. And then we're going to pick the tool that we just made, and then we're going to click on the chains to machine, and let's just do the outside, okay, the whole outside of the part. Hit OK there. Okay, so that's just going to kind of do the front part here, and we'll go ahead and just look at the side and kind of do a right view and then zoom in. So when we do our toolpath simulation, we can see it go around this corner here. Okay. Okay, so that looks good that the corner is exactly where it's supposed to be. Okay, but it's not actually cutting anything. It's just going to barely skim that surface. And that's because our fillet width is set to 0. So we're going to want to change that to something like 10,000, something like that. And then recompile. Then you can see where the tool was simulating before, it's moved over a little bit. Okay, so let's just go ahead and reset this. And come back over here. So now you can see it's now going to cut into that corner by 10,000ths of an inch. And the 10,000ths is kind of the tangent here, okay, of the triangle. So that's the distance from right here to right here. Okay, so that looks good. So let's go ahead and delete that, and let's go ahead and look at another scenario where the model already has a chamfer built in. Okay, so we know exactly the depth and the thickness of the chamfer that we want to put in here. So let's go ahead and just start off the same. Just make a chamfer instruction, and then click on our new chamfer tool. And then we're going to go ahead and select one of these edges. I'm going to go ahead and select the top. You could select the bottom, but I'm going to select the top. Okay, so over here, what it did is actually remember that last time we used this tool, the fillet width that we preferred was 10,000, so it put a 10,000ths in there automatically. I'm going to change that back to 0, because we're not going to actually cut a larger fillet than is already in the model. So we're going to want to go 0 past the existing fillet. And now what we're going to do is you have to tell the software which of these edges we selected. So we're going to tell it that we selected the top tangent. Okay. Had we selected the bottom tangent, we would pick that. Okay. Then we can hit OK. Okay, and then we get something that looks like this. So let's go ahead and toolpath simulate that. And now you can see as it comes around, our cutter is exactly on that edge there. And it actually kind of looks like the chamfer in the model is not 45 degrees, but that may just be a graphical thing. Yeah, so I'm going to assume that's okay. All right. Now we'll talk about one other scenario here real quick that is not a chamfer at all. It's corner rounding. Okay. So let's see if we can do that real quick. Let's make a new tool and go into it and change over to corner rounding. Okay. So something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and leave these default values just to kind of expedite this. The important thing is here, the corner radius that we want is 625. or 62.5 thousandths. Okay, so let's come over here, and instead of selecting chamfer, we're going to select corner rounding. Okay, and then we're going to pick our new tool, which we didn't really name. It's still called default tool, but that's okay. And let's just go ahead and pick, we're going to just pick this one edge right here, and we're going to change it to manual so it just cuts that one edge. And compile. And now we get something like that. So let's see what that's going to give us for our toolpath simulation. And now, so we can see that's not right. When we zoom in here, we can see that the geometry is kind of wrong. It's just in the wrong place. And that's because the default for a corner rounding tool is something else. I'm not actually too sure. It's probably expecting that we have the radius built into our model here. So we're going to change, we're going to change the selected chain location to the corner. Okay, so that is actually this edge right here. And now we can compile that. We can see our toolpath is moved. And let's see what this gives us. Okay, that's right. So you can kind of see it's just going to go in and just radius onto there and just exactly cut that radius. Okay, so we're going to have a nice radius there. Yep. So